You know I love you all very much, right? So here we are at 4,000 subscribers. That was on it. I'm just so happy, honestly. Like, you all support this channel by watching these videos. I make so many of them, and I'm so happy that you all pay attention to my stuff. I really am. Like, and this is basically my big Q&A celebration video. First time I'm doing this. It's kind of weird. Like, originally I did this in the vein of, like, I was gonna do a Q&A if I hit a certain amount of like money on Patreon, but I said forget that. I don't know, it felt shallow the more I kept thinking about it, so I was like, forget it. Now I'm just thinking, now I'm pretty much on the mindset of every 4,000 or every amount of subscribers, like every milestone, I should say, every milestone in subscribers I hit, I'm gonna do an fully unscripted, basically in the new format of my Simple Thoughts, like, video on just doing Q&A, just doing a simple Q&A, taking maybe 10 to maybe 20 questions in total, and just plain answering them. That's why I put a community post on the channel, just saying, hey, give me just some questions you want to ask me, and in total I was gonna ask or answer about 20, pretty much. I had to get a few more from, like, Discord and such, because not enough people were seeing the community post, like, because, you know, you gotta ring the bell to be able to get notified of stuff. YouTube's stupid. But I digress. You all sent your questions, and I am here to answer them completely unscripted. Some I read in advance, of course, think a little bit about them, but most of them I'm just kind of going in blank without, it's pretty much just off script. That's all this is, just off script, off kilter. So, let's get to it. Geek Tunes asks, good job, dude. Who inspired you to make reviews? Also, shout out to Geek Tunes. Yeah, should have seen that coming. That's kind of a thing. It took a lot of different influences for me when it came to my getting into it. I think I've answered this before when I made my Simple Thoughts on my channel. Like, you probably could see it somewhere, like, where I just decided to ramble. I think what I said in that was my biggest inspirations was mostly, like, Andre the Black Nerd. That was definitely one of them. Like, cause, like, his positivity was something that got me to just say, you know, I don't know, he was just so positive about things. Like, I first found out about him when, like, Styx the Badger was originally announced for Sonic Boom. Like, when he did his whole take on her, I was like, well, I watched his video and I laughed about it, and then I laughed at it, and I saw he had a whole extensive library of different videos covering different topics, and I was like, I want to see what else this guy's what else this guy has done or talked about, and I kept up with it, and that's when I saw more and more of his stuff, and I was like, this guy is, like, really funny. But the bigger ones were more like Pan Pizza. Like, I saw his whole thing. Like, that was where I started to think, maybe I could do animation, you know? Like, animation was definitely something that got me more into it. Like Pan Pizza's videos definitely were the things that helped inspire me to get more into, like, animation in general, or more or less talk about it. That is, I was always a fan of animation. I still watch cartoons, as you could tell, and I'm an adult, plain and simple. So, like, it was more in the vein of, like, I just thought, do animation, because that's what you like, that's what you pay attention to the most. And another person inspired me, might be a bit controversial due to the stuff that kind of came out, is, like, Nostalgia Critic. Like, he was sort of one of the inspirations that got me more in, that told me, I can do this. This seems like a good route to take. I should try this. So I said, let's get into reviewing stuff. And so that's what ultimately got me to just decide I'm gonna do reviews, and so here I am, just reviewing a lot of new animation media. I didn't want to review old stuff or stuff that so many people have already covered and said their most extensive things, and I had nothing new to add to the conversation. Like, even if it's like I could be funny about it, I still want to add something new, so it does guarantee you to come back. Like, it could be something that gives you a cheap like something that gives you a cheap laugh. It's like, good, it gave you the cheap laugh, but are you gonna really be thinking about it? It's gonna stick in your head? No. It's just a matter of, that was funny, and then you move on. So I decided to say I want to cover stuff that not many people have talked about, like new animations and stuff, new shows, some new movies every now and then when I feel they're pushing boundaries or so. So yeah, that was ultimately those were my biggest inspirations for doing this and for getting into this whole YouTube thing and doing reviews, pretty much. So yeah, Mr. Nostalgia, check his channel by the way. How do you get the whole thought idea from your channel instead of normally speaking like most YouTubers? The whole thought idea basically came from, like, it was mostly in the vein of, like, I just thought everyone does their, like, thoughts on, so I was thinking, you know, I think I want to do it a bit differently. I want to do it where it's like an actual thought mindset. I want to do, that's, I think, what I mostly thought about. It's just, everyone does the whole thoughts on, it's just them vlogging, basically, which I'm kind of doing right now. But I digress, and, like, I just thought, maybe I want to change it up. I want to come up with this, I just came up with this gimmick of, like, it's in my head, so you hear the echo effect. Originally, when I started, I had Windows Movie Maker, so I wasn't that good, so you couldn't ultimately tell it was in my thought, it was in my head, until, like, I upgraded to Vegas and got Audacity as well. So yeah, that's just my main thing. Like, the whole thoughts gimmick was more like, it's just more in the vein of, like, I wanted to subvert expectation, pretty much. I didn't want to just do the exact same. I didn't want to do the same, just sit in front of a camera and talk, and that's all you get. I mean, I'm doing it now, but like I said, this is just for the special occasion. And just as well, I do it for just simple thoughts when it's like, it's simple, it's simplified. Ugh, can't talk. But yeah, that's ultimately the ultimate thing where I got my thought, the whole in my head idea. That's pretty much it. Gufran Alihanai, if I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. I apologize in advance. Congrats, man. My question: how many collabs have you made with others? Okay. How many collabs? I've done about, let's see. I did one with PsychoPie in a sense. Like, that was for my Boot Crew Christmas. That was one. Then I collaborated with D-Dubman. Yeah, that was like my second collab was with D-Dubman. Third would be, well, I technically collabed with him like twice. Like, I did this one video where it's talking about who's stronger, Steven Universe or Naruto. And I think with like, I gave my little piece talking about why Naruto's the best. He still is. Get over it. Like, and then we did a Christmas review. I asked him to, like, collab with me for a Christmas review for the Christmas Dinosaur. You can check that. And then another collab happened was with Toonrific Tariq and me and Dubman from a review live doing the top 10 most obscure cartoons. We did that, and I think that was like that. So it's roughly, maybe, like, as a whole, it's been like 1, 2, 3, 4. Technically 5. I want to say technically. Oh yeah, and Versus Joe, so that's 6. Because Versus Joe, I had did a man rant talking about can we be tricked by design. That was fairly recent. So it's about roughly 6, because one of them was also sort of this. It's not really a collab per se. It was more I gave audio with What the Check. Like, all these people, like, go check them out. They're actually really great. Like, you should check out their channels. Plain and simple, they're great. But, like, yeah, so roughly about 6. And Geek Tunes was also most recent. so 7, I should say. It's been about 7 collabs, and here's the thing, like, I sort of made it like a New Year's resolution, like, for this year, that I wanted to get as many collaborations as I could, or with a lot of people I really liked, pretty much. And so far, that kind of did. Well, there's still more people I want to work with, of course, but I'm still happy that I got some collabs happening. Pretty much, that was the main thing, is that I at least got these collabs, like, they happen. I'm just happy that they did happen, because these people are great. So yeah, so about roughly 7 collabs, technically 6, because like I said, the one with What the Check was just I give him just a piece of audio of me talking about black representation. Really good video, check it out. And I mean, it wasn't a matter of like we full on work together in the sense. It was just I just say my little ramble about what I really liked about it, and then that's just about it. So ultimately, so about 6 or 7 in a sense. So that just might be it. It's just 6 or 7 in total collabs, all of which I think are really great. If you can, check them out. Some are on my channel, some are being linked to on my community page. Like, check them out, they're really good. Flair the Legendary Lost Otaku, epic name by the way. Do you love Courage the Cowardly Dog Show? And if you do, what's your favorite episode? Ooh boy, I do love Courage the Cowardly Dog, obviously. I made a video talking about one of the characters. Favorite episode? That is actually tricky, because I like a lot of more of the earlier episodes, more or less. A lot of the later ones, I don't know. I don't ultimately remember like too much of them. I just remember like the ones that really did hit and stick with me a lot. I guess it's difficult to really pin down a favorite episode for me, because a lot of them are really good. I think maybe it would be The Mask, because that was like excellent. That was like plain excellent, because it touched on a issue that you would think, yeah, no kid show is about to touch on this, like this type of subject matter. Not even Disney would touch this, but they were like, yeah, we want to tackle this issue, and it was really good. It was really good. So maybe it might be The Mask. I guess if you tied me down and forced me to give a favorite, it probably would have to be The Mask. I think that's the one that really stuck with me a lot more, because like it was one that said, we're not going to talk down to you. We want to genuinely touch upon this major issue, or talk about this major like this serious storyline, pretty much. Like, you would think they wouldn't be able to handle, like, kids would not understand this. It's not going to work, but you grow up as an adult and you appreciate it even more because of how well executed it is. So yeah, I'd say probably The Mask. Mask is probably my favorite. From Water is Great. Yes, it is. Drink more of it. Oddest cartoon you've ever seen? Oddest. That, I guess oddest, right, in my mind right now will probably be the Shivering Truth. I didn't keep up with the show. I'll let you know with that. But like, I touched upon it in a quick thoughts, and like, it was so odd and somewhat uncomfortable, but at the same time a good uncomfortable, if that sort of makes sense. Like, it was so strange, because it was like capturing the concept of dreams being so nonsensical and just nothing connecting to anything at all. So I think, yeah, if I had to come up with, like, plain and simple, I think like the Shivering Truth is probably the most oddest out of all cartoons I've ever seen in my life. Like, that one was one of those, okay, that was freaking weird. Very, very weird. And yeah, I think that, like, that works. It didn't anger me, thankfully. It was just like, I don't know what the hell I just watched. That was a trip. That was a total trip. But Yeah, Shivering Truth. That's the oddest I've ever seen in my life, definitely. Like, that's the one that kind of sticks with me a little, because it's so odd. Lu Kimjil, if I pronounced that right. What are your thoughts on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? I like it. I really enjoy it, but I don't keep up with all of it. Like, I've seen Stardust Crusaders. I saw a little bit of part 1, but I never finished it. I didn't see part 2 neither, sadly. I mainly went right to Stardust Crusaders. I didn't bother to finish up I watched the first part just to be able to get introduced to, Dio and it was Jonathan. Correct. It's Jonathan. That was the first one. The first Joestar. And then I kind of skipped ahead. I know that's wrong. That's pretty wrong of me. I shouldn't have done that. I probably should. Eventually, I plan on going back and revisiting them. Then there's, Diamond is Unbreakable, which I saw a little bit of, never finished. And the part 5 with I'm trying to remember I can't remember the name. I've seen a few episodes of it. It's the one with Golden Wind, if I'm right, or I'm so blanking on this part 5, but I plan on getting to them. I really I do. But overall, I think JoJo is a really good anime, like really, really good. I enjoy it because it's just it's a lot of dumb fun, pretty much. That's what it is. It's one of those, it knows not to take itself so seriously. It knows, yeah, we kind of put our characters in a lot of serious peril, but we don't take ourselves that serious to the point we can't goof off every now and then. Like, it's pure fun. And that's just something I appreciate a lot about JoJo's, that it is a lot of fun. A lot of people talk about it because it's something you can just sit down and have fun with a lot of the time. Like, that's basically it. And I really appreciate JoJo's for that. I will eventually get to them. Like, my friend keeps telling me to go watch them, and I plan on it. I just need to find a date, a few days to just sit down and just completely get right through them. I really got to do that, especially when the new part comes up, because I know it. I keep letting myself get behind. I really gotta focus on this. I will get to him. I really will. Blaine Shile or Skele. I'm sorry again if I'm butchering your names. I am sorry. What's your favorite animated show of all time? Oh, man. If I had to, I think if I had to pick for all-time favorite animated show, I think ultimately I would most likely, for me personally, this isn't thinking about the biggest impact it would have on it's had on the industry or anything. It's just thinking more on my personal taste. I think it would have to be Powerpuff Girls. I think Powerpuff Girls is honestly my all-time favorite because it's one that I've revisited on multiple occasions, and I fucking love it. I full-on love Powerpuff Girls. It's a real, I enjoyed that show a lot. I enjoy the humor, I enjoy the characters, everything about it I just love. I like when they can decide, we're gonna be a little simple for an episode, and it still somehow works. Like when they were stuck in, when the girls were stuck indoors for a rainy day. It's it's raining, so, and everybody knows it's yeah, on a rainy day it sucks because it's everything's all muggy. You can't go outside and see your friends. It just sucks. But they somehow managed to make a very fun and interesting episode. To me, I appreciate that type of stuff when you do something so simple, yet somehow it still resonates. Somehow it still works. I do recognize that Powerpuff Girls had a little bit of seasonal rot around the end because Craig McCracken had left by then and to go work on Foster's Home and such. And Chris Savino took over. So that's sort of the problem right there. So ultimately, but at the end of the day, the episodes weren't god awful. At least most of them weren't. When they were in the newer seasons, like season 5 and 6, it's just more. A good chunk of episodes were just hit or miss, pretty much. That's about it. I wouldn't say it's just total rot. These are garbage seasons. Throw them out. Like, no. So, I think overall, is just mainly, I think Powerpuff Girls is probably my all-time favorite cartoon. Plain and simple. Mac McSkullface, who's been a major fan for a long time, comments a good chunk of my videos. Shout outs to him. What are some shows / movies you changed your mind about after you initially reviewed them? I guess a show I can think of that I full on changed my mind about was like Loud House. Like that's one I reviewed that, thinking back on it, I realized it's not as great as it is. Like, when I reviewed it, I was like, this is so great, it's so relatable and all this and that. And as it went on, I realized, wait, this is a very simple concept, and they're really they're kind of stretching it. You know, it's like, that's the thing. It's very simple because it's just a boy lives in a small house with a bunch with his big family. There is not much you can get out of that. That is one of those very small concept type of shows where it's like you're gonna have to drag a lot of episodes along through mainly your humor and some visual gags as well. So that's where now I never got to the point where I'm like, I hate Loud House. I don't. Fandom is a different question, but like with the show itself, I started recognizing a lot of its flaws as it went along. I started recognizing a lot of inconsistencies, like with continuity. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know episodic shows are not meant to have full storyline continuity. It's more or less in the vein of like certain things that happen with a character don't match up with what that character has done in the past. You know, it's like this character learned this lesson, but somehow they didn't retain that lesson. That's more, and that's usually an indication of you're not paying attention to your own show. You know, like you kind of lost your own direction. I don't know how you did that, but you somehow did. And so with Loud House, it was just in the vein of, as I watched it, it just kind of lowered and lowered and lowered. And now I'm at the point of like, it's an okay series. I enjoy it. I can get decent laughs. Some episodes I'm just staring like, oh, well, that happened. That wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It happened. They've had clear-cut duds, obviously, but nothing where I was at the point where I was thinking, this is a terrible, god-awful series. It's just in the vein of like, I can understand when people are like, it's boring. I wholly understand that, because it's like a lot of nothing happens in the show. You know, they kind of wrote themselves in a hole to a degree because they're trying to be super slice of life while being cartoonish. And it's just like, you can sort of do that. Some shows blend it well. Like Craig of the Creek is a really good slice of life series because it plays on a big concept of this idea of a little kid society inside of a creek. Like it plays with stuff like that. It plays with a concept. Here, it's like with Loud House, it's more just playing on the idea of these characters, a lot of which have these certain specific interests, and that's just kind of it. Ultimately, where I stand is that I feel it'll go down as the Doug of the 2010s. That might be harsh, but I think that's where it's gonna stand. It's like, you watch it now, you like it, and you think it's great. Years later, you go back and say, this is boring. This is actually very boring. Like, a lot of this is not holding up. Like, because a lot of it is, there's not a lot going on. So that's just kind of the ultimate problem. I made a video talking about the problems with it, and you can see more of my in-depth, my in-depth thoughts about that, like, it's on my channel. So that's just kind of my main thought process on it. Like, I loved it when it first started. It dropped to just plain okay levels. It's not like, I'm not at this is an absolute god-awful show, throw it in the garbage. It's just, it's okay, does its job just fine. It's fine. That's ultimately where I stand. It's just fine. Matt asks, if you could get one more season of any animated show, what show would you choose? Kids Next Door. Kids Next Door. Thinking about it now, it's Kids Next Door. That is one show I feel should get some more, because there was way more concepts to it that it could play with. You know, it introduced the idea of the teens next door, you know, like K&D operatives who still work for the K&D, but like as like a Splinter Cell group in a sense. I was thinking, yeah, like straight up, of course, yeah, like let's go with that. Let's get more. That's why I was really rooting for Galactic K&D. It's like, yes, we could get more. We could explore more of the characters, more of the concepts, like because there was so much more to K&D that they could build on, but sadly, Cartoon Network and even Adult Swim passed on it because with Adult Swim, their mindset is like it's too gross for an adult show. Because Kids Next Door is one of those. It has serious stuff, you know, like with the Galactic A&D, they were gonna have something where it's like, number one, wiped out all the adults on the planet, or wiped out the whole planet or so. It's like, okay, that's too serious for a kid. It's one of those. It's stuck in a weird middle. Like, it's too serious for a kid's show and too goofy for an adult show. So it's like, how do we make that work, you know? Like, yes, the fan base is grown up, but it's one of those, how do we really balance this, you know? Like, with Samurai Jack, it made sense to go more of an adult-oriented route because most of the people who watch Samurai Jack are adults themselves. Plus, the show itself already was pretty mature, so it's like, yeah, you just adding a bit more blood, or adding a little bit of cursing, it's like, it's nothing. It was handled very well. The transition into a more adult media, it's like, that worked perfectly fine. With Codename Kids Next Door, it's one of those, it's tricky. It's like, how do you do that? So, yeah, that's of all things, I think Kids Next Door is probably the one show I feel like could get more seasons. That's one I want to see more of because there's so many concepts you could play with. I want to see more backstory, like why did Kree, you know, leave the K&D, and why did she just not get decommissioned? You know, there's more you could play with that, but sadly, it's possible we never see that. Maybe it comes in comic book form. I don't know. It'd be great either way, but sadly, we're just stuck with what we have, which is still a great show, but oh well. Mrs. Nameless Purposeless asks, what cartoon do you love the most? One you could watch 1,000 times and still love it just the same. I think something that I probably could watch multiple times might be Tom and Jerry. Like, I think that's one of those things where it's like, if I rewatch it, I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna have fun. It's just great. Like, the way Tom and Jerry is done. Sure, some of the later shorts and some of the super earlier shorts are more like, but when it's like they finally figured out where they, like, how they wanted to do Tom and Jerry, I think that's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this holds no matter what. I can rewatch this as many times as I want, and I'm never gonna feel like this is stale, this is old, this doesn't work. Like, it works. Like, Tom and Jerry, it just works. So of all cartoons, I think that's the one where it's like I could rewatch this and it still works. In a sense, I also think Looney Tunes also falls into that category. It's one of those, like, I could watch that multiple times, or watch them multiple times, or watch those shorts multiple times, and they still work. So I think those are just it. Tom and Jerry, more or less, like, in pretty much like Looney Tunes. Those are like the ones where it's like, keep watching that and they still work. So yeah. Don't even think, man. How dare you? But anyway, Don't Even Think Man asks, what inspired the decision to have a club backdrop in your recent videos? Congratulations on hitting 4,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. The club backdrop was honestly something I kind of wanted for a while now. It's just, it was more difficult. I couldn't do it because I didn't have like green screen, and like my walls were not like set at a certain solid coloring, so I couldn't like cut them out either. So that's one. So that was the main thing. I just wanted to have the club backdrop because, like, because as you can tell, my aesthetic is more black and white jazz, you know. So like, because I always liked that aesthetic. I don't know. I just like, it always resonated with me because I watched a lot of old cartoons and such. Some were in black and white, and the ones that were in black and white, like, they just kind of stuck with me. I just really enjoyed the aesthetic of black and white. I don't know. And then you mix in jazz, and so it's like, it's sort of a jazz backdrop. Originally, it's to a degree, it was supposed to be like a bar, like, but I couldn't do that because that actually required a full set. So it's like, let's find just a lounge backdrop I can find. Like that's what, like I just had to scour some type of lounge backdrop. So that's why you see for general thoughts, you see it's like the stage for man rants, or yeah, pretty much my man rants. It's more or less just a lounge. So that's ultimately it on that front. It's just I really enjoyed the jazz backdrop, the more jazzy feel of it, because I always incorporated jazz into like my song, into like my background music. So I was like, let's get a jazz background. I mean, let's get a jazz background, you know, or more jazz-based background. That's ultimately the main thing that inspired me to go that route. So yeah. Rin Sin asks, who's my favorite loud sister? Whoo boy. I think if I had to add, originally it was sort of Lenny. Like Lenny was more my favorite because I just loved her personality, and I still do. Like I just like how sweet and innocent she is. But the more I thought about it, I think the character I like more than Lenny would probably be Luna. And I say that in the vein of like, her character, when she has stories not focused around her whole rock career, I think that's where she stands out a lot stronger. Usually episodes that don't focus too much on like the character's interests, I feel are the more stronger episodes for Loud House. Like if they start doing more of those, I think that's where they would shine a lot better, focusing more on personal things. Or if like when they're focusing on the interest, they're focusing more on the character being a master of a craft, trying to really perfect their skill. But I digress. When the episodes are not focusing so hard on like Luna's interest, I always enjoyed her character a little more. I do like her more rambunctious, crazy side, pretty much. Like I do like the episode that focused on her with Sam, pretty much. Like those are a lot, those to me are more strong for her, because they show more of her insecurities. Like she's full on out of her element, you know. Like that's why I say with Loud House, the stronger episodes are the ones that don't focus on her, that don't focus too heavily on a character, on the interest. That's ultimately it. It's like, don't focus too heavily on the interest of the character, just focus on telling a good story with the character, pretty much. Like putting the character in a very different situation than they're used to. And that's always more interesting than just the characters focusing on this small little thing in their interest, and it like I said, it just wasn't that interesting. So ultimately, Luna is my favorite. Second probably would be Lenny. Now, like originally was Lenny, but it switched. So yeah. Strums asks, where does the name Thought Guru come from? For those of you who don't know, I call myself Thought Guru on Twitter, pretty much, and also on my Discord. Originally, my tag was Thought Provoker on Twitter, but I changed it to just Guru because D-Dub-Man, he had called me the Guru at one moment in a voice chat, so I was like, the Guru. I'm feeling it. So I ultimately said, so I was like, let's change Provoker to Guru. And so there you go. That's how I pretty much became Thought Guru. That's ultimately it. Shy asks, what got you into the cartoon community? What ultimately got me into it was my love for cartoons. Like, I just loved cartoons. I loved animation. I realized I focus more on that stuff. I always watch that type of stuff. So it made more sense that I was like, I'm gonna get into this. I want to get into this more because this is something I really love, and it was the best means for me to express myself. And another, like I said earlier from an earlier question, is that, you know, people like Pan Pizza helped get me inspired me more, because like, okay, like I think I want to see where this goes. I want to see how this can go out. You know, I wanted to pretty much just do that. Pretty much. That's ultimately it. It's just, I watched Pan Pizza's videos, I saw more people covering cartoons, and then I said, I think I can do this. I think I can genuinely do this. So I went, and that's ultimately what got me more into reviewing them and looking into more cartoon related stuff, and even talking to some people. I got to meet a lot of good people through the cartoon community, you know. And it also got me to connect with more like black like black oriented cartoon YouTubers, because we were a bit more scarce. Pretty much that was the main thing. Is like, so I really connected with that side a little more. So that's ultimately the big thing that got me into the cartoon community. PC the Unicorn asks, of all the videos you've made, which one are you the most proud of? The video I feel is my most proudest is, honestly, and I mean this for real, the one where I started my Black Animation Appreciation Month, and that's basically where I talk about like different cartoon reviewers that you should be watching. I genuinely am most proud of that because I genuinely like talked about what made these people great. You know, I included so many different people on them. I included so many different people in it, and I was just so happy, like, because I was shouting out more black-oriented cartoon reviewers, and it sort of led into more of a catalyst, you know, because of that video. I met Toonrific Tariq on, like, I managed to meet him, like, he found the video, and he followed me back on Twitter, and we connected pretty much more through and through, and my connection as well with D-Dub Man from Review Your Life, also Black Geeky Girl, who I met D-Dub Man through. Like, it's a whole weird connection. Mars Review, who I just, like, he had been subscribed to my channel for a while now. Like, that's honestly the video I feel the most proud of, honestly, because that's the one, like, it's like, I am giving a shout out to a lot of people. I shouted out Veritas Joe, and I was a little happy. I was pretty happy when it's like this man blew up. Like, his channel like grew so much, because when I first made the video, he was like roughly maybe 1,000, 2,000 subscribers, and then out of nowhere, he like hit one of his LGBT representation videos, like, full on blew up. Like, it just grew. Like, he just grew out of nowhere. I was like, well, dang, that blew up. Like, I genuinely thought, like that genuinely is the one video I feel was like my most proudest of. Like, that's just one where it's like I did a shout out to some channels that were smaller than mine, like I put on that list, and then because of that list, I ended up finding more people. Like, I ended up finding like What the Check. I ended up finding Giraffe-ish. Like, I ended up finding out about Awkwardly Animated. Like, I ended up finding out about a lot of different like people through that video. Like, and I was genuinely happy with. That's just the one I feel like I did something there, you know. Like, I showed an appreciation for these great talented people, you know. That's just one thing I genuinely, to this day, I would look back and think, yeah, that's one I'm most proud of. So it's probably, I won't say it's my absolute best, my magnum opus, but I will say it's one I feel like genuinely happy that I did. It's like everything I was doing in that, it's like, yeah, everything I said in this, everything I did in this felt right. From the music selections that I used to who I talked about, I feel happy about this. I got to meet more people through this because of this video. I even got, like, that was the video I genuinely, like, to this day love, and I don't know what will change that. I don't know, but right now it's like that one I'm just absolutely happy for, and happy with how it turned out and what came of it from its creation. Well, that's about all the questions on, and I thank you all for asking them. And again, I am so grateful for all of you for subscribing to this channel and sticking with it and being okay with every change that came to fruition with this channel. Every thing that was just different from day one and being here in the now. Like, I'm just happy that you all stuck with me and we're feeling the vibes pretty much. I just cannot express how grateful I truly am to all of you for this. I got to meet so many great people because of this channel, and I'm just so happy you all feel the vibes of this channel and you just love it too. I'm so happy. I very much appreciate you all, and I thank you from the depths of my heart. I love you all so much, and Here's to hoping we go even further. So again, thank you all so much. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Just do it. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.